Hey guys, so I am the absolute worst when it comes to remembering like all these monthly themes and stuff like that. And there's a reason for that. It's because I have ADHD, which is a symptom of my PTSD, which brings me to the fact that this is PTSD Awareness Month, and I have yet to make a post about it. PTSD is a very complicated illness, I guess I could say. So having said that, I just want to give a few sort of tips around having the knowledge of PTSD, or if you know somebody who has it. One of the things that you can do is never, ever, ever tell them it's all in your head and go talk it out in therapy, because that's not true. It's not in your head. It is in your nervous system. It is in your limbic system. As I said, it is physiological. Another thing that you can do is don't ask questions about the person's abilities to do things. I do remember one time I was working in a yoga studio and I was happily volunteering to work the front desk, and in a conversation, one of the managers actually said to me, "Well, how do you think you can actually work with this PTSD?" Which to me was insane, because it kind of came across like somehow I wasn't capable of anything, even though at the time my sharing that was just to be a little vulnerable, and I knew where I was at the time, and I knew what I was capable of and what I wasn't. So don't question anybody's capability. First of all, it's fucking rude, and secondly, it's none of your business. And third, just because somebody opens up to you once about something, it doesn't mean that you can start bringing it up to them, especially in a work environment where there is a boundary between managers and employees. Another little thing I want to share with you is that there's a lot of stuff online right now about PTSD, and I see ads everywhere to release your PTSD in like this one retreat, or get into a cold tub, or all this stuff is going to release your trauma. It doesn't. Don't buy into that shit. Okay, releasing PTSD or releasing trauma from your body is a process. It's a slow process that requires a lot of dedication, hard work, and consistency. You're not going to buy a program that's going to help cure you in a month. It's just not possible. That's the bad news. The good news is that there are things that you can get on top of to start your healing work. There are modalities that will help you. And there really are modalities that can help you heal, just that it takes time. And so one of the hard things that we have to come across as survivors is that it's not going to happen overnight. To be patient. Healing is not a linear process. You might feel amazing for 6 months and then fall into a deep depression and feel like you're going backwards, but you're not. You're always going forward. It just doesn't always feel like that. Because if you stop and look at your life right now, is your life better now than it was before you started any healing work? The chances are it is. I hope it is for you. It is for me. But my point is, it's a slow process. I made the mistake of going to Peru back in 2011 to do an ayahuasca ceremony. I actually didn't go for one. I went for a 10-day retreat and 5 ayahuasca ceremonies, because I thought oh, this is going to help me. And honestly, at the time, I didn't know much about trauma. None of us did. We didn't know shit until The Body Keeps the Score hit the stands, Not that no one knew. I mean, Peter Levine was writing about it. Dr. Schwartz was writing about it. There were people writing about it. But it wasn't until that book came out that we actually started talking about it, and actually started taking somatic healing seriously. We now know that it really is in your body, which is why if somebody tells you it's in your head, you should kick them to the curb. Oh, and I also want to add real quick before I move on about that trip to Peru and about my ayahuasca experience. I regret saying that it was a mistake, because it was not a mistake. My only mistake was not knowing that I needed other tools. My mistake was going there thinking that that was going to solve all my problems. and that I was going to come home and be healed. And that wasn't the case, and that was a big disappointment. I did feel better, and I did get a full reset, and if you've ever heard of the default mode network, I absolutely reset my default mode network. But when I came home, I didn't have any knowledge or any tools around trauma, so there was no way for me to maintain all the good that that trip did for me. And I wanted to point that out. I don't regret it. Absolutely don't regret it. Just that everything came back because I didn't have the knowledge to keep it going. So I just wanted to put that aside. Anyway, moving on. So healing can happen. It's just that it happens over time. You have to rewire your brain. And that takes a lot longer than any of these online courses claim to be. It's not like, oh, rewire your brain in 3 months. It's going to take a long time. And I've tried a lot of different modalities. And my personal opinion, if you want it, you didn't ask for it, but disregard it if you don't like it. It's okay. My personal opinion is somatic experiencing and internal family systems are probably two of the absolute best modalities that you can use. They're both incredibly gentle. They keep you feeling safe while you do that rewiring. Again, it's complex. There's a lot of things to like untangle and unwind. And there are a lot of parallels between somatic experiencing and parts work that I find really interesting. There are other modalities that help, don't get me wrong. TRE, I love TRE. TRE is amazing. TRE helps me in a pinch if I'm feeling super dysregulated and I don't have anywhere to turn to. I don't have a therapist to talk to. I get on my mat and I do my tremoring and I feel better after, 10, 15 minutes. There are so many other small things too that you can do, like diaphragmatic breathing and things like that. But sometimes when I'm super worked up, I can't sit down and do breath work. It's too much. It's too much work. This is why TRE for me is my, in a pinch, absolute favorite thing to do. I just get on my mat and I tremor. I don't have to think. And it brings me into a calm state immediately. So that's my personal favorite. I don't know what yours is. Things like cold plunges and stuff, it's not that they don't work. They can work over time, but you would have to cold plunge like every day for months to get any kind of serious turnaround in your nervous system. It's a temporary fix. Having said that, if you don't mind these temporary fixes and it does help you, go for it. Just don't be mistaken in thinking that that's your cure-all, that's going to heal you. It's hard work. Again, it's so complex. You really got to get in there and find all the little bits and pieces and like unpeeling that onion very, very slowly, a thin little skin at a time. Be patient. And also, I don't want to give the impression that none of these programs online are good. That's not true. There are good ones. There really are. But it's the ones that will help you take your time. It's not the quick fix. So I know it sucks having PTSD. Trust me, I know it sucks. I'm happy to be functioning at all. I've actually had times, months, where I could barely get out of bed. My brain was just not cooperating. I couldn't recall words. I couldn't complete sentences. It's been insane. And I still struggle every day. But today, I started my own business again. I opened my own yoga studio because none of the yoga studios I was going to were going to understand. They didn't get it. And I can't expect them to. So I created my own space where it's safe for me to be with my complex trauma, with my depression, with my anxiety. And it's a safe place for you to be too if you want to come and practice with me. And it's a safe place for my teachers to work because I get it. I know what they're going through. So these are just some little things that I wanted to talk about. It's a lifelong thing. If anybody tells you they completely healed their PTSD, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say don't believe them, but you know where I'm going with that, So if you're here and you're listening and you're able to relate to anything that I'm saying, if you're able to laugh at anything that I said that was funny, or just relate to something that I said that maybe got you in the feels, You're not alone. There's a lot of us. There's a lot of us. The more healing work I do, the more I see it in other people. And I'm telling you, it's so widespread, especially since COVID. Especially since COVID. So let's try to be more understanding. Let's try to educate ourselves. Don't just start throwing away the buzzwords. You know, do the work. You're not going to get anywhere by throwing around buzzwords. And I see a lot of that online too. Everybody's talking about their PTSD. Everybody's talking about their trauma. Nobody's doing the work. Except a few, of course. If you want to do the work, there are ways. If you want to do the work, dig in. Dig into the somatic modalities. If you're around me, come and take some of my classes. Sit down, have a cup of tea with me, ask me questions. I am available. I'm a resource now. I've studied a lot. Of course, there's always more to do, but I've studied a lot, and I'm definitely in a place where I can be a resource to you. I'm going to be doing trauma-sensitive coursework. I'm going to be doing another longer session to help people create their toolkit. You need tools for your toolkit. And that's how everyday life for a trauma survivor is. You walk through life, you got your little toolkit, and you pull them out when you need them. Everybody's toolkit is a little bit different. So my job as a survivor and as a teacher and a facilitator is to help you find out what tools work best for your toolkit and to help you get towards that healing. The toolkit is great to have. A trauma therapist, a well-trained trauma therapist is good to have. That's the hardest thing to get out of the whole toolkit. It took me many, many years to find a real qualified trauma therapist. And it's okay if it takes you some time, but there are things we can do in the meantime. And that's where I come in. I'm here to help you to learn the things that you can do on your own, at home or in some classes. But you're never going to be able to do all of it alone, and you're never going to be able to do all of it just with a therapist. It's a combination, okay? So let me help you build your toolkit. Let me tell you that I love you, that you're not alone, that I'm here with you too. And just let me help you a little bit with protecting you from some of the misinformation and misconceptions and shit that goes on out in advertising today. That's all. So, happy PTSD month. Feels weird to say. Happy post-traumatic growth. I feel comfortable saying that. If you're ready to start moving past it, moving through it, and moving past it, reach out. Come have a cup of tea, we'll talk. Otherwise, may you be free from suffering.